Hey folks, Dave, the not so evil Viking 13 here, with a special preview of upcoming map changes to Chernarus Plus, as seen in the Arma 3 editor. Now you guys can actually access this as well. I'll have details on how to do this in the description. But before we continue, if you guys really want to experience exploring these areas for the first time on your own, don't watch too much of this video because there will be some minor exploration spoilers, even though these areas aren't finished yet. Let's get to the good stuff. What are we going to be seeing as the developers of DayZ at Bohemia continue their work on the Chernarus Plus map? I decided to make this video because as a 3D artist myself, and actually an environment artist, I couldn't resist taking a peek at what's to come. My curiosity just got the best of me, so let's start things out by taking a look at the original area up north in Chernarus as it looked in just Arma 2 in 2009. As you guys can see from this jet footage from Arma 2, the northern area of the map is actually very barren. There's just not a lot of detailing going on, and it's really a shame because most of the map looks like a real place. It's one of the most realistic looking maps I've ever seen just because it's based off of actual satellite imagery, and the developers and environment artists that worked on the map actually grew up in these areas of the Czech Republic. It just really feels like a real place. Until you go north, and then it's just kind of smoothed mountain areas with empty forests, an occasional barn or whatever, but just really not a lot going on. Let's pick things up now in DayZ with an aerial view at Svetlo, one of the newest towns added to DayZ, and a good reference point for you guys that are familiar with the northeast area of the map. As we travel west out of Svetlo, I'm not going to show you guys every small detail that they're working on in this northern part of the map, but I do want to give you all an idea of the amount of stuff that's being added, just the scale of it, and the detail, like this junkyard right here. That looks pretty awesome. I believe this new town right here west of Svetlo translates to Black Fields, and that one just got updated in the last patch, and it's pretty close to complete, I think, at this point. Down below in the main mountain valley west of Svetlo, we have a lot of road systems in place for what appears to be a decent sized city, and some pretty high cliff areas as well. That is one thing that you guys are going to see pretty consistently in these northern areas, is the extreme height variation of the terrain. I'm excited about that because one of my favorite areas in the southern parts of the map is the southeast area near Tolga and Three Valleys, where you have those just very deep valleys and very high mountains. It's just a really interesting type of terrain and a great place for hiding out in the woods like I like to do when I'm camping and hoarding things in my loot stashes. As we keep going west here, you guys can see the railroad tracks that come out of Svetlo. There's a lot of terrain decoration as far as the texturing goes. There's farm fields, there's ditches, there's some parking areas, parking lots, and pull-offs and stuff like that. It's hard to tell exactly what those are going to be at this point, but there's just a lot of varied detail going on here. In my opinion, it's just more interesting than the open fields of the western part of the map. If you guys have been west to Gvozdeno, I'll go with Gvozdeno. This is the railroad station just north of that. It's got a couple of buildings right now, but not a whole lot. Just kind of a transit location. But the area just north of that railroad station has a ton of space for what appears to be a very large multi-tier town or city. The mountain that you guys see here on the left is the mountain that has Devil's Castle at the peak just past that row of pine trees at the top. As we head west from the train station, we have just a bit of wilderness before we hit our next area of interest. After a few twists and turns on this main highway here, you guys can see a couple of industrial areas coming up, along with some small tree lines and some farm fields. This area definitely opens up quite a bit, and it has some very, very long sight lines. Our current location at this particular industrial complex is just north, a little bit northeast of the Northwest airfield. As we dive back down from scouting altitude here, there's this really cool transit kind of hub just north of Lopatino. It has a schoolhouse, a train station, a construction site, and a bunch of garages. This area is already pretty great for a quick, secluded run if you're not up for hitting the Northwest airfield by yourself. There's Lopatino right there to our south. The area between those industrial complexes just north of the Northwest airfield and this schoolhouse and transit center and hub, those areas are mainly empty right now. There's a lot of open fields and roadways, but it looks like at least one, maybe two good-sized towns are going to be in that open area. Keep in mind, guys, that although this area looks a bit empty right now, it was just completely empty forest in the completed version of Arma 2. So right now in the DayZ Alpha, there's a lot of room for expansion up here for sure. Turning back north, we have the very newest town added in DayZ. I actually don't know if this town has a name yet. It has no signs or anything up yet. It is quite a bit north of Lopatino and definitely northwest of the Northwest airfield. It looks like it's going to be the furthest northwest town of the entire map before you hit some just outlying buildings and smaller areas hidden up in the mountains. This is really the last true town. While it has no military spawns like police stations or anything like that, it has quite a few barns and houses, and it should be a great place for lone survivors or paranoid clans to resupply and hide out if their camps are nearby in the mountains. A quick note here as we're in the northwest of the map, as far as I can tell, the far western edge of the map has not been modified much at all at this point. There's no real foundations like we're seeing here in the far north. The western edge is still pretty much the same as it was in Arma 2. That may change in the future, and it would make sense if it does because it is kind of just that barren, hilly mountain area like it was in Arma 2. There's definitely some room for expansion over in that area. So that's kind of the new border of the northern areas. A lot of the areas that we've flown over and driven through so far used to be actually beyond the edge of the detailed part of the map in Arma 2. It was the true far north. But now it's kind of the middle north. It's not as far north as you can get. They're taking the detailing in Chernarus Plus right to the edge of the map itself. And so I'm going to have some flyovers now of the really, really secluded areas where all we have so far are the basic terrain shapes, some basic dirt roads and stuff like that. Because it's so barren and kind of just blocked out right now, it's hard to say what these areas are going to be, but there's plenty of much more interesting mountain shapes going on up here. The valleys are steeper, there's more rock formations, and that means there's more places to hide your camp, and that is okay with me. As we fly back east from the northwest corner of the map, I'm just going to point out a couple of small things of interest. Once again, guys, this may spoil exploration in the future, so if you're really into finding out things yourself, this might be a good place to stop. First up, northwest of that last northwest town, we have this interesting looking compound clearance in the woods, a very large area, possibly a military base of some kind. This is literally just a few hundred yards away from the very edge of the map in the northwest corner, so it's about as far as you can get. Right nearby, as you head east once again, there's a giant bowl shape for a new lake up here in the far north. I'm going to call it quits on the commentary right about here. I'm going to continue east and link back up with Svetlo in the far northeast and show you guys a couple of the neat rock outcroppings, new town foundations, and areas in the mountains along the way. Thanks for watching, guys. If you appreciate all the effort that went into this video, please give it a like and share it with people who you think might also enjoy it. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.